Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Genisus Esports YouTube channel here for the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship Round 3. And this week we are going all the way to a land down under, Bathurst, Mount Panorama, the one and the same, the legend, the myth. We are tackling it tonight, and by goodness me, I'll do 90 minutes of this all by myself. It was an amazing ride here for round 2. Of course, some big waves being settled with the likes of Luke Whitehead taking a win from George Boothby, but a 90-minute race coming up tonight. And as I said, cannot possibly do this by myself. So it's a very warm welcome to the start of the season from round 3 onwards to my good friend Tapelo Mirioli joining me in the commentary box. And Tapelo, welcome aboard. You couldn't have picked a better race to get this onto.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic. One of my favorite racetracks. A challenge for drivers, challenge for spectators. So let's see how it goes. I think it's going to be interesting. I know everyone's kind of itching already to get started, so let's move forward.
Excellent stuff. Well, Bathurst in Mount Panorama, obviously round 3 of a 12-round championship. You can see there every single Wednesday. Get it in your diary because you are not going anywhere. We're off to Hungaroring, to Donington, to Spa, Nürburgring, Barcelona, Silverstone, Suzuka, Monza, and we round out the year in America at Watkins Glen just after Christmas on the 27th of December. We should know by around about Silverstone who the main contenders are going to be for this championship, but with 2 wins so far and a pretty strong start to the championship, it's looking very, very good for a certain Mr. Luke Whitehead. But that being said, qualifying has just got underway here, Tapelo, but Bathurst, a 3.86 mile circuit in New South Wales. It is just a wonderful, wonderful circuit, and probably one of the most iconic for endurance GT3 racing. It really is going to be a test of man and machine tonight, isn't it?
Oh, of course. It's one of those circuits where you have to keep calm. You know, you have high-speed corners, low traction zones, so you always have to be focused on the nitty-gritties, if you want to call it like that. So I think, yeah, you've already said it. We're looking at 174 meter elevation on this track, top speeds in excess of 300 kilometers. It's a challenge, but isn't that why we love racing? You know, it's always the top guys that simmer through in races like these. They own the challenge, so I'm interested to see how some of these guys will go around this track tonight.
Now, you see, Tapelo, I take that same zen, love, passion, focused look at sim racing right until I put the car into the wall at the top of Skyline when I'm coming round the circuit here. It is a very, very challenging track, but again, the corners that you've got here, especially, you know, after Skyline, down through the S's, down into the Dipper, it is just a wonderful, wonderful track to take part in. We've got about 10 minutes left of qualifying just now. Christian Deploy currently on pole position. Pole times is going to be around about 2 minutes is what we're going to be looking at, I think, for the fast times just now. But at the moment, let's have a look at our championship standings just now. Then you can see there Luke Whitehead. Bear in mind there is a drop round to take into contention as well. Philippe Minard in second position there with George Boothby in third, and then Sasha Vassner in fourth position. Luke Addison in fifth, Cody Sherritt in sixth position, Giovanni Porzio is in seventh position. Quick note about Giovanni as well, a lot of support there on YouTube, and good evening to Giovanni, because he was actually posting on our YouTube chat earlier on there. Christian Deploy in 8th position, Tariq Adam in 9th, and Thomas Jack there in 10th. And talking about the YouTube chat, good evening to everyone in YouTube chat. Make it loud, make it proud. Let us know who you are rooting for tonight, who you are going to be celebrating. So, Tapelo, tell me a little bit about yourself with sim racing. Do you have much experience with that? Are you versed here at the likes of Bathurst?
Well, I'll call myself an observer. I'm not that experienced, but I've dabbled a bit here and there. I've got friends who are very prominent in the scene. They've enjoyed it. I've tried to race this circuit. Fair to say I've kissed the wall a few times. So good thing I'm on the commentary team for this race. But yeah, you know what? I think it's such an interesting thing. And I think since the COVID pandemic, esports blew up, and it's such an amazing experience to see the communities that are built around esports, and just the passion that we share for motorsport, for gaming, just having the time of your life with a few friends and a very, very quick circuit.
And that is a wonderful point to bring up, Tapelo, about community, because that is one of the main core aspects here at the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, the idea of this continual development, this continual progress from the drivers that help each other out and help develop each other through the course of the season. But as we can see, we've moved over into qualifying, and this is a bit of a turn up for the books, because as if Bathurst wasn't difficult enough here, it looks like we're doing things in the dark right now, so that is going to be a tall order for a lot of these drivers. However, George Boothby in pole position just now, 158.750, and we were hearing from the beginning, our little insider knowledge here at Tapelo, saying that the McLaren's doing very well here, and the Ferraris having to do a little bit of work just to catch up to them.
Oh, for sure. And I think what's important right now, as you're saying, it's all dark, so you need to get your angles right. You need to get the racing line correct. But I want to say, haven't fought for the Audis as well. As much as the McLaren seem to be dominating, Audis aren't that far behind, so they could be a contender, if not for the front row, but top 5 positions perhaps.
That could very well be. The problem with that is that I don't think we've actually got anyone in the field that's actually in an Audi, believe it or not. So they may have the upper hand, but that is going to be a very, very interesting thing to work out as well. It seems to be McLaren's that are ruling the roost just now, but 158.7 for George Boothby just now, as you can see him coming down that back straight through down towards the chase then, as we're on board with Luke Whitehead at the moment. A little bit of a yellow flag out there just now. You see that quite often. Luke hasn't set a time here as he goes onto the Licklemolly Bridge down into Murray's Corner, and we'll go across to start another lap there. Again, not wanting to go too wide, so let's take you on board then with the lap here for Luke Whitehead as he goes across into turn number 1 then into Hell Corner, and this is the run up through the mountain straight. Again, the car absolutely racking itself out with the top speed here, up to around about 180, 185 miles per hour onto the back of the car in front. That always tends to help me a little bit. I find it very, very helpful when you've got a car in front, because you use that tail light as a little bit of a guide there through into the right-hander, up through Griffin's Mount, then in towards the cutting, then in towards turn number 4, which is Quarry Bend, up that right-hander, a corner that I tend to get wrong an awful lot, through up over the crest of the hill, and again having to watch that car out in front. It's lifting off a little bit. That moves to the side as he comes through the left-hander at Solomon Park, the left-hander at McPhillamy Park as well. Top speed through here, clipping the curb on the right-hand side, onto the brakes as late as you dare, down through the glorious sight that is Skyline, then into the S's as well. You don't really get an appreciation of how beautiful that viewpoint is. That viewpoint being over the top of Skyline, down on the brakes into Forest Elbow, and then again onto that long Conrod straight that leads down to the chase here. And again, Tapelo, we've not seen him go across the line just yet, but Luke giving us pretty much a masterclass in how this track is taken.
Well, of course. If you look at these lines through the S's, it's a very tricky part of the circuit. Very easy to lose time there, but also if you can get it right, get your lines correct, get your braking zones correct, you gain a lot. And you see here, just coming out of the chase, trying to get the traction of just touching the grass here and there. Let's see how he takes this final corner. On the brakes again. Actually working perfectly. It's a good lap, top 5.
Yeah, beautiful lap there from Luke Whitehead. Decides to pull it into the pits with 5 minutes left to go in the qualifying session here for round 3. Tariq Adam up to the top of the timing tower then, 158.510, 2 tenths faster than George Boothby. You've also got the number 13 McLaren up there in 3rd position. Abe Santema with a brilliant qualifying right now, coming down into the S's at the moment. Luke Addison up there in 4th position. Also seeing Cody Sherritt for Genisus Esports up there in 10th position. Now we saw Cody involved with his teammates there as Luke Addison. I'm pretty sure it's not the fastest way around this circuit to hit that wall on the inside here. But again, qualifying a very, very important part of the race. But again, I would imagine that you're going to want to get a good position here, Tapelo, to get yourself potentially in the top 10 with how few overtaking opportunities there are at this circuit to be able to make the most of this 90-minute race.
Of course, it's massively important. Remember, the further you are up the grid, the less problems you have, especially the congestion we always see into turn 1. So it's all about keeping your nerve during qualifying, getting that final line, so to speak, correct, because you don't want to be caught in the midfield positions,
And on that note then,
a lot of contact happens.
I was just about to say to Pella, on that note, if you were to, do you think, to take part in this, let's imagine me and you were taking part in this qualifying session, where do you think you'd be in the field of runners out there?
Oh, I'd be fantastic. I'm a legend at this track. Probably number 31, but that's... As long as I'm on the grid. As long as I'm on the grid.
I love that. I'd be the one upside down after Forrest Elbow, just tucked in very nicely as the car's going by there. So I think at least, if anything, then Tapelo, me and you can have a little fight with ourselves towards the back of the grid. As we saw, George Boothby will best direct any attention away from that one as Abe Santima gets very, very close to the wall on the outside here, and I think that is going to be George Boothby's final attempt done and dusted for qualifying here. Abe will get another lap at least. In fact, he will just get one here in this qualifying session for round 3. And again, it makes me wonder what time of the day that this race is going to start off with, as qualifying here at 11:25 at night would make me think that it's going to be around about 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. excuse me, that this race is going to get underway. You'll get all of the coverage here on the Genisus Esports channel. A very good evening. So good evening to Ntanto Nagi. We've got Sintembio Dalami on there as well. Kuda Mwonde, Josiah Rajani, B3 Simulation and Skapani Lekwape. All given good luck for taps on here. So you've got your own little fan club out here tonight, Tapelo.
I told you about this. I told you.
You did actually.
I appreciate the support of the guys watching out there. Thank you so much, guys.
What I will say in advance, though, is obviously with me being from Scotland, I will profusely apologise for the level of butchering that I will be doing to your name. But I do need to learn it, with me having an imminent, move to South Africa. I need to learn how to pronounce names. So what better way to do it in the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship as we go to Jimmy Holm, the homing missile. Well, let's see if he lives up to his name tonight on that one, because Hell Corner might have his name written all over it at the moment. 12th place, 13th place make that in that number 1 Ferrari. Just now comes out the final corner. What can Jimmy do? Moves himself back up to that P12, but again 1.4 seconds off of pole position. It's still Tariq Adam from George Boothby and Abe Santima. That's your top 3 just now with 25 seconds left to go in qualifying. Here you see a huge power slide in the background there from one of the cars coming out on their final lap here. And again, it's all about being able to get that traction down, get the grip down, and be as smooth and as consistent in these corners as possible. As Jimmy Holm is deciding to test out his name by absolutely smashing in to the barrier into turn 1. So qualifying is over. The checkered flag has flown. 2 minutes 20 is what's left for the cars to make their way round and to finish off the laps that they are on. But you've got to say, I mean, with Luke Whitehead being in 3rd position there, that is a little bit of a surprise for me, Tapelo, given that, he's currently in the top of the championship. But again, down in that 3rd place, he's got to get past the likes of George Boothby and Abe Santima.
Yeah, look, I think sometimes it happens that you dip a bit, but I think we've already spoke about this. The McLarens look strong on the circuit, and if you can look, 4 of the top 5 are in McLarens. So him coming up with a Lamborghini there, maybe doing a bit of a difference. It's all about how he starts the race. Just after Hell's Corner, you've got a really long straight, the mountain straight. So if he can get a slipstream, maybe he can try something going into Quarry.
He potentially could, actually, and what I'm just remembering as well is that straight line speed of the Lamborghini is absolutely devastating for Veloci Esports. So we'll wait and see how that all pans out. Abe Santima comes across the line as Luke Addison down into 6th position now. Cody Sherritt jumps up from P10 into P7. So that is a Genisus Esports 6 and 7, if I'm not mistaken. You've then got Christian Deploy down in 9th position. But it's all about this man here. Luke Whitehead can't do anything better. Pulls off to the side of the track. He is done and dusted. George Boothby is going to have one more bite at the apple here in that number 27. McLaren comes out of Murray's corner for the final time. Ooh. It's not enough. It's close, but 6/100ths of a second. So that does mean that I believe for the first time this season, Tariq Adam jumps up onto pole position. And Tapello, I think Tariq is going to be absolutely delighted with that. He's, in pole position, but he's going to have 29 cars, behind him that are absolutely baying for blood at this point.
What a performance that is. What a performance. What a brilliant lap. And I think what's nice about that is he set his lap early, so you kind of get rid of the nerves that everyone's starting to do their final runs. But you're right, 29 cars that are breathing down your neck. The tactic is simple. Look straight ahead, ignore what's happening behind you, hit your marks, hit your racing lines, and then move forward.
That's absolutely spot on. And again, we see it, week in, week out from the likes of from Formula One, where you have a similar situation where the gaps are so small for such a large amount of cars. That it really is all about the start and all about how you conduct yourself in the first sort of 10-15 minutes, that opening stint of the race. Exactly the same here in GT3 endurance racing, and I guess we're straight into that endurance type event since we're 90 minutes. Now, obviously with 90 minutes, that's going to, with the pit stops as well, one thing that we haven't spoken about so far is the strategy element of it. Do you think that when and how often the drivers take their pit stops is going to be a big issue tonight?
I think so. I think we've already seen in qualifying that the gaps aren't too big between these drivers. So if you're looking at a race like that, and like you said, we've got a 90-minute race, so that means you have to be focused. You have to be on it for 90 minutes. You cannot let anything slip. So your pit stop becomes crucial. And that might decide the race. So you take extra 5 seconds for a tire change, and try and cut it down and just take the 25 for the mandatory pit stop. It's a tough decision for a driver to make. Very tough decision.
It certainly is. So we're about to get the qualifying. We're about to get the formation lap underway. So let's take you through the grid. And since we're starting at the back, then we'll start all the way at the back. Then on the last row of the grid, then in 29th and 30th position, you've got Omar Khan and Johan Terblanche. In 27th and 28th is Tim Bauer and Jaco Grobler. 25th and 26th is Keegan Sanderson and Paul Venter. 23rd and 24th is Sean Shute and Fleming Bauer. 21st and 22nd is Vincent Nell and Charles Darden. And then in 19th and 20th, it's Moat Musa and Alexander Kuznetsov. Then in 18th position, you've got Andrei Serodio. 17th position, you've got Nicholas Manuel. 16th position, you've got Henry Meyer, with 15th position going to Ronaldo Bersma in the Lamborghini. 14th place is Wojtek Dvorak in the McLaren. Jimmy Holm in the homing missile, number 1 Ferrari, is in P13. Sasha Vassner in the Mercedes is in 12th position. Giovanni Portio in 11th position. Sandro Van Zandt in 10th. 9th place for Christian Deploy. 8th place for Christian Venter. 7th place for Cody Sherritt. Then on row 3, it's Luke Addison and Thomas Jack. Luke Whitehead and Abe Santema are on row 2. And on the front row then, George Boothby lines up alongside Tariq Adam. It's 11:30 at night virtual time here. They are going to be racing in the dark for 90 minutes. This is going to be absolutely epic here. And again, Tapelo, just as the car's going through their warm-up lap here, I always wonder, what must the anxiety be like ahead of this race? What must the pressure be like for these drivers?
Well, you know what, David? It's very difficult to quantify for someone who's never been in this kind of situation, because you have to think about everything. Are you in the correct gear? Are you close enough to the car in front? Do you have your line correct? Because remember, anxiety is such that you could miss your first braking point. So turn one becomes super crucial. You don't want to make contact. You don't want to lose your position. You kind of just want the most boring start possible in a situation like this. And now, of course, that they're racing in the dark, that makes it super difficult. It's easy to miss your line. It's easy to miss your braking points. So it's all about getting everything set up in your mind during this formation lap.
Absolutely, it really, really is. It's all about getting your nerves settled. It's all about getting your T's crossed and your I's dotted, making sure that every single bit that you do in that first 10 minutes is as perfect as it can be, to settle the nerves, to get that heart rate down a little bit, and to get you settled into position, take opportunities where you can, but also to bolster what you already have. We're on board with Tariq Adam here for Genisus Esports on pole position, looking back at George Boothby and Abe Santima. Again, it's going to be a difficult race for a lot of these drivers, not well known for its big overtaking opportunities, but nonetheless they are going to be giving up all they have got as they come through the S's and down through the Dipper as well. A beautiful, glorious sight here to see the night sky in New South Wales lit up and illuminated by the rows and rows and rows of expensive virtual GT machinery down the Conrod Straight here, which looks like a little bit of a parade lap here. It looks so nice here at night time. And again, it's Tariq Adam who is in control of the pace at this point. So at this point in the formation lap, then what would normally happen is that the cars can float through each other. The collision is turned off, but at this point it then gets turned on and the drivers are told to go from single file into double file. This is where you'll see them stacking up, and you can see George Boothby has just had that order there. Now, a little bit of gamesmanship going on right now here for George Boothby. He wants to up the pace a little bit. He wants to get going. He's eager and poised, but the thing is, it's all automated. The game is telling the drivers where they need to be, but it's only automated in terms of the notifications. The drivers have to do all of it themselves. They have to do the gear changes themselves. They have to line the car up in position, and you can see the two of them like cat and mouse, just poised, waiting. It'll be coming out of Murray's corner, and it'll be a long drive down this start-finish straight before they get the green flag to go. But here we are then, ladies and gentlemen, the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, round 3 here at Mount Panorama in Bathurst. We are ready to go. Tariq Adam is going to take the green flag and send them all down to Hill Corner into turn 1. George Boothby gets a great start though, not good enough to challenge Tariq Adam into that corner there. I hear a little bit of chaos in the background, but it looks like for the most part everyone through unscathed. And again, we've got green flags as everyone gets through and on that mountain straight on the run up here on lap 1. Top 2 have already broken a little bit away from that gap behind Abe Santima, running away with Luke Whitehead. We've got a car into the wall in the background there. I think that might have been Christian Duploy as the cars come racing up the hill. And again, Tabello, again, it's so nervous right now because anything and everything is happening all at once in front of you.
Oh, of course. You need eyes at the back of your head, inside your ears, everywhere. Because it's such a crucial situation. You have pinch points on this track. You know, it can be very narrow at places. So going in with, 5 cars around you, it's a very nerve-wracking thing. Brilliant start by Tariq Adam, by the way. He's already, 3 tenths up? Just trying to maintain that gap. Let's hopefully see how they'll go about going into the S's here, because this is a very crucial part of the circuit where mistakes can happen, especially when it's still packed like this.
It certainly is, and just looking at the gap that's increased a little bit now, it looks like it's about 0.5 of a second to 0.6 of a second there from Tariq Adam. He is on it right now. We've got a yellow flag coming out of Forest Elbow. It's cleared almost immediately. That'll be a car running into the wall, so watch for afters on that one as we go down into the chase for the first time of asking. Tariq Adam from George Boothby, from Luke Whitehead, who's got past Abe Santima. Then we didn't see that's happened off cam there, but look at George Boothby gets a run
under pressure,
out of the chase there. He's really under pressure.
This is where it becomes important. How do you deal with this pressure? You need to hold your line, but it looks like Boothby might have the inside line going into Hull corner here.
Yeah, he's got that position. That was very easy, but it was respectful driving as well there from Tariq Adam to allow that to happen. He's moved over to the right hand side to block Luke Whitehead to make sure Luke doesn't take that position as well, and they'll be coming up to turn 2 here with 1 hour and 27 minutes left to go. Squeezes Luke off to the outside there, says no thank you, no room at the end, and then that is going to leave Luke a little bit vulnerable to Abe Santima here as the two of them. Oh, and again a little bit of contact there as the car's struggling to get any sort of traction out of that corner there.
And this is very tricky. As you get the entry right into the cutting, you start to lose your rear, so you need to hold your nerve, get on the throttle just ever so slightly, just to make sure you don't lose that rear coming out of that corner.
And with that as well, with the tyres being so delicate at this stage of the race, they're trying to bring them up to temperature. They're trying to get the heat into the tyres, into the brakes as well, but not overcook them, not overdo them, and take away life from those tyres that's going to cost them in the end as well. So it's such a precarious balancing act. A lot of people, when they see sim racers or they see people in their sim, they think, oh, they're just playing a game, because they don't see the level of complexity that's involved here in the likes of tyre management, in terms of brake management, in terms of car sympathy, mechanical sympathy, and it is, it's like an onion. There's so many layers to this type of competition. But talking of competition, Luke Whitehead here under the Lickramolly Bridge. He has got Tariq Adam, your pole sitter and lap 1 leader here, firmly in his sights. But Tariq has done a marvellous job of holding his own, but I worry that George Boothby might be a way to shoot off into the sunset here.
And you know what? I think this is kind of the point in the race where you just needed to settle down for a bit. You still have an hour and 25 minutes to go. So I don't think it's the point to force something, but you also don't want to lose touch with Boothby, who's now opening a gap. He's about a second ahead now.
Just to elaborate on that point as well, momentum is such a key thing here. And again, this is like every broadcast I do, I tend to talk about this. The idea for viewers that are watching, if they watch a car making a move and it doesn't work out, you can guarantee within half a lap the car that's behind them is almost always going to try and make a move as well, because they've lost that speed, that rhythm that they had, trying to do something different, trying to make a move on a car that they weren't able to get through, and that's slowed them down and taken them off their pace here. But again, look at Abe Santiva just slowly catching up to the tail end of this Lamborghini. The Lamborghini of Luke Whitehead looks poised and almost ready to pounce like some sort of praying mantis on Tariq Adam here. And again, as you were mentioning there, it's all about being able to just get yourself in that relaxed state. Drivers, when they come through on that first couple of laps, their heart rate is through the roof. They're looking everywhere, trying to defend and attack at the same time, whereas now already it looks like we've got a little 3-car battle for second place.
Oh, of course. And I think it's exactly like we're saying. If you saw there, Santina was making very good gains into the braking zones, getting just behind Whitehead as well. And now you can see, coming into the chase here, it's all about getting your braking zone correct, getting the traction right as you exit that corner.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again, it makes it so crucial to not just do that most laps to do that every lap. That's what separates your top 10 here right now, is the ability to just do that every single lap. In the meantime, let's have a quick look then at lap 1 from our round 3 here of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. This is through the Dipper, and that, I think, is one of the Genesis cars going straight into the wall and getting collected by several other cars. And again, Tabello just showing you how quickly it can go wrong, not only for a car, but for any of the cars behind.
Exactly, and it highlights the thing that we were talking about, that Bathurst is very deceptively narrow. So if someone makes a mistake in front of you, you don't have the space and the reflexes to pass them. So sometimes it's actually unavoidable contact for a lot of people. That's why you tend to see pilots at this racetrack.
Well, as we've got just over 5 minutes gone, we're on our third lap of this third round of the championship. George Boothby then opens up a gap of 1.1 seconds to Tariq Adam. Luke Whitehead in third position, with Abe Santiba in fourth, Luke Addison in fifth, Christian Venter in sixth position. You've then got Deploy in seventh, Cody Sherritt in eighth position, and then in ninth position you've also got Sandro Van Zandt and Sasha Vassner in 10th position. Great start there. Let's check some of the messages from race control. 15-second penalty to car 22 for causing a collision. That is a harsh penalty being given out, and that is to Nicholas Manuel in the Ferrari. I get the feeling that might have been the Ferrari that we saw involved in that lap 1 for car. And to get a 15-second penalty at this early stage in the race, that's a difficult pill to swallow, isn't it?
Oh, when it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. I think the stewards are not taking a kind view to that kind of mistake. But like we said, that's the consequence of a circuit like Mount Panorama. It compromises so many people behind you. So, unfortunately, if you mess up, like we saw in a tight situation like the S's, you're bound to ruin someone's race.
So we're watching a little bit of a Genisus Esports train right now, as we've got Christian Venter, Christian Deploy and Cody Sherritt all in a row here, although Sherritt has been dropped a little bit. He's coming under pressure from Van Zandt as Deploy and Venter get past one of the lap cars there. That is the 26th position car, I believe, that just went past of Keegan Sanderson right now. We've got to move for position up in 22nd place. Omar Khan has got past Charles Darden, and I get the feeling Charles Darden might be off somewhere because he is going down the order. Yeah, so Darden into pit lane just now. And again, at this early stage of the race, it is pretty much shooting a hole in any chance that you've got for being competitive right now. Back to the podium fight right now though. Tariq Adams still under huge amounts of pressure here from Luke Whitehead. And again, any comments that we made about that Lamborghini and you know, struggling a little bit for pace, well, it certainly hasn't seemed to have gone through to Luke Whitehead's team right now, because that car looks absolutely on it.
Like I said to you in the build-up to this race, I said someone might have the driver mode setting turned all the way on tonight, and it looked like Luke Whitehead is surely looking for the overtake coming into the chase right here.
Goes through the right-hander, down that long corn rod straight then, and again there's a little bit of dust getting picked up by George Boothby, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it does look like he's very, very close. I wonder actually if Luke is doing a little bit of strategic play here. He's right behind Tariq Adam, but I've seen this now for 2 laps or so, and I wonder if he's maybe just trying to save fuel a little bit. It would make sense actually if he's behind Tariq, make Tariq do the work here, and then just, you know, sit down. He's going to drag you along. You get that extra speed, and you get to save a little bit of fuel as well.
Well, of course. And if that really is the ploy, then it's brilliant race management. It's brilliant racecraft. You know, he's going to pull you down these long straights, you know, the Conrad straight, the mountain straight. Yes, you might get compromised in the tight and twisties, you know, the cutting, the S's, but that's where you kind of sit back a bit and then you catch up again in the Conrad straight. Use the slipstream to your advantage.
And just saying, a yellow flag gets brought out just now. We're back to green flag racing again. It's more race control messages coming in thick and fast, and that is a 10 seconds time penalty. And yeah, that is not what you want to be having at this stage of the race here.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And I think it's such a disheartening thing when you're still trying to find your position in this race. You know, the first 20 minutes are so crucial in getting your momentum right, getting your positioning right, and then to get a message from race control that you have a penalty. I think the stewards are not going to be people's favorites tonight.
Yeah, they're certainly laying the smackdown, as we say, tonight here, and that would explain why Charles Darden in that number 23 was into pit lane. He would have been serving that penalty potentially and get that out of the way, unless actually, no, I'm talking nonsense here, he would have been fixing any damage that he had on that car. Cody Sherritt, though, back to the little Genisus Esports train just now of McLaren, Ferrari. You've got Christian Venter, Christian Deploy, and Cody Sherritt all in there, as well as we've also got the 35 just behind them of Desand, just trying to catch on to them as well. Sandro Desand. New purple lap for our race leader, George Boothby, 1:59.579. He's set fastest lap after fastest lap. As here comes Cody Sherritt on the inside of the teammate, and again makes a very, very bold move there. And we saw this last week as well. It's one of those things that, from your experience, Tapello, in Formula One, you know the first rule is never hit your teammate, but again, it's fantastic in this GT3 racing to see such close and, you know, hard-fought team racing.
Of course, David. I was actually about to ask you that. What would you do in that kind of situation? Because, of course, you never want to ruin another driver's race, especially if it's your teammate. But what I love, the contrast between GT racing and Formula One, they always say in GT racing, some touching is a bit of love. So maybe you can just check if your teammate is awake to that kind of pressure.
And that's absolutely right, because with the GT racing you can kind of get away with that, because obviously with open wheelers it's a little bit more difficult, it can be a little bit more complicated, and any sort of contact does usually lead to issue. As we've got another replay to have a look at here. This is the 23 then. This is what the penalty was for. Late into that cutting and straight into the back. That's where he got the damage from. So it's a double whammy there. He gets the penalty and gets a little bit damage to boot. As we see Luke Whitehead, again, he's in with the chance here, but he's just tucked right in to the back of Tariq Adam. Adam goes defensive here.
I think he's going to pull the trigger into the braking. Very tight, very tight. I think Tariq Adam has his number just on the braking there, just to stay ahead and maintain his position, but he's under immense pressure. And when pressure's like this, it is so easy to make a mistake. Just like you've seen with car number 23, missing a braking point, you start to hit the car in front, you've got damage, you get a penalty, your race is over.
Well, I think this puts paid to any thought that we might have had of Luke deciding to do some fuel saving right now. This is definitely for position right now. Tariq Adam having to defend every single inch of racetrack right now as Luke Whitehead gets the toe up the mountain straight. Is it going to be a look up into turn number 2? He moves over to the inside, but again, it's nothing more than mind games at this point here. The Genisus Esports driver doing an amazing job of defending that position, and it's not like it's not wanted. It's not like Tariq Adam isn't driving out of his skin tonight to earn this second place. But again, with all of this time still to go, it's a long time to deal with this sort of pressure here, and you just hope that sane heads prevail on both sides here.
And I'll tell you what, David, you know who's loving this battle? Boothby in first place, because every time they battle each other, the easier it is for him to extend his gap. He is breathing and coasting down in front, 2.9 seconds away from Tariq Adams. That's what you want, just to set your race up perfectly in the beginning.
Spot on with that observation there, Tapello, because when you're going, if you're not looking forwards and you're not chasing down the car in front, you're going backwards very, very quickly indeed. And as you spotted there, the gap, you know, about 2 laps ago was about 1.4 seconds. Now it's well over 3 seconds as these two fight it out just now. One person that is going to enjoy this, I think, is possibly Abe Santima, because he might be able to come back into contention as well. But Luke Whitehead's, I think, here dropping off a little bit, maybe wanting to try and cool down the tyres after being so aggressive there, and he'll possibly decide to have another go. in this this next lap here. But the top 10 at the moment then looks like this. George Boothby ahead of Tariq Adam, who we're watching here just now. Third place is Luke Whitehead. Fourth place at the moment is Abe Santima. Luke Addison is in fifth position, with Christian Deploy in sixth position. Christian Venter in seventh, but moves out as we've got a huge moment there for Ronaldo Boersma for the Genisus Esports Racing Club, trying to catch on to the back of the homing missile that is Jimmy Home. Just continuing on with the top 10 then, Christian Deploy in 6th. Cody Sherritt has now got ahead again of Christian Venter. We'll see how long that lasts for in 7th position. And then you've got in 9th position, you've got Sandro Van Zandt and then Sasha Vassner in the Mercedes rounding out your top 10. But first 15 minutes already in the books here, Tabello. And again, this is now the point of the race where you were saying you think the drivers are going to want to get to. They want to get to this settled state where they can just relax and focus on themselves and the cars around them.
Of course. And I think so far, despite the few incidents we've had, you can just see drivers trying to maintain that pace, just find their footing, get that rhythm going. You know, especially when you look at the top of the mountain there within the SZ Skyline, that's all about rhythm. That's all about rhythm. You don't want to be reacting to things. You want to set your car up perfectly. But I want to ask you, David, how frustrated do you think Whitehead is? Because he's been trying to get past Tariq Adam for the past, 3-4 laps now, and it is surely getting to his head.
It's deceptive because I've spoken to Luke on a number of occasions, and I always find myself injecting emotion where the drivers don't actually have any. So I've been in this situation before with Luke and asked him, and I'm like, oh, you must be so frantic to try and get past. He's like, nah, it's fine. I'll put the pressure on and see what happens. And they're so cool and laid back, and you know, I'm so jealous of the skill that they just have, you know, able to turn on tap here. And yeah, it's very sickening to see how talented these folk are, with no effort seemingly whatsoever. And you know, I'd struggle to qualify for the top 30, being completely honest with you. So going back to that,
like I said to you, that's why we're on the commentary team and they're the ones racing tonight.
Exactly. That is why. It's like the old thing. So we've got a saying over here: those who can do, those who can't teach. Well, for us in the racing world, it's those who can get behind the wheel, those who can't speak about it, and that's exactly why we are here.
Oh, this is interesting. Side by side. Oh, you're holding your breath. Going into a curve like that, side by side with another driver, you're just praying he maintains his line, you can maintain yours, and you do not want contact, because if you kiss the wall, especially in Sector 1, you've got such a long lap to get back to the pits and repair that damage.
Going up the hill, it'll take an absolute eternity as we're watching Jimmy Home, the homing missile in that number 1 Ferrari, onto the back of Boersma. Now the thing again is that Home is in a rock and a hard place there, because just behind him he's got Harry Meyer in that number 9 Ferrari, although Harry Meyer into the hard place just now, aka the wall on the run through McPhillamy Park there, seemed to get away with it. But again, you don't want to do that too often. And with 1 hour, 10 minutes left to go, we're going to have pit stops, I would imagine, in about 25 minutes' time.
And I think this is where you have to think now as a driver. Do you start to force a move now and try to take the advantage going into the pit stops? Or do you say, you know what, it's okay, I can follow here, I can just maintain this pace, have my pit stops, and then start to fight afterwards? That's a tricky situation to be in as a driver.
Absolutely spot on. I could not have said that any better myself. But the other thing as well with that is that what I loved about the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship in specific is, even if you're watching the battle for 2nd and 3rd, or you're watching the battle for 20th and 21st position, for example, the intensity is exactly the same. It means just as much to the drivers outside the top 20 as it does to the drivers fighting for a podium position, and that's exactly the vibe that they're going for, and the ethos behind this Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, of course, built on that Japanese ethos, that ethic of Kaizen, the continuous development. As we see side by side, Henry Meyer trying to get around the outside there of Vassner, not quite able to make it happen. But again, that's a turn up for the books, because Vassner has actually lost a couple of positions. Vassner was in 10th position, now down into P10 there, down to P14.
And it's exactly what I was saying. It's that pivotal moment now where do you risk the move or do you hold position? And now we're starting to see some drivers thinking, you know what, I think the driver in front of me is a bit slow. I can catch them out by going on the outside. It's a very risky move, but if you get it right, you're through.
Just noticing as well, the gap has stabilised to a race leader just now between George Boothby and Tariq Adam. 3.1 seconds just now. Luke Whitehead still in that third position, as we've got a message from Race Control then. 10-second time penalty to car 39 for causing a collision with car 42. So the 42 car is the 22nd car of Johan Ter Blanche, and it's Tim Beyer in that 39, the McLaren in 24th position. So a warning given out as well afterwards. And Race Control, you've got to say here, Tapelo, not afraid of getting stuck in and really showing the drivers they're not taking any nonsense here tonight.
You know what? I love that. How often do we look at racing series and we start to judge the stewards about not doing or enforcing the rules? So I actually appreciate that the stewards are taking everything by the scruff of the neck, and they're making sure that drivers know that they need to maintain a particular driving standard, and just to make sure that everything works coolly by making sure that everyone is on their toes, driving cleanly, and giving us a spectacle tonight.
On the flip side of that as well, it is a thankless job that our officials do in Race Control as well, because they're never going to win. They're always unpopular with either one set of drivers or with the fans as well, who think maybe that they are a little bit hard done by, or a decision went against them. And certainly from my experience as an esports commentator, I've seen that many times in the past, where fan bases of specific drivers will come in and just go absolutely nuts in the chat. However, talking of chat, I've got to say, I mean, we have got a wonderfully well-behaved audience over at Genisus Esports. So a very good evening to you. If you have just joined us, this is live coverage of round 3 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. We're on board with Tariq Adam down in second place, trying to hold off that position from Luke Whitehead. But it's Dave Christie in the commentary box here with you, and joining me for the rest of the season. It's a very warm welcome to Tapelo Merioli. And Tapelo, we were speaking about the respect shown by not just the teams that are involved in this, but by the drivers out there on track as well. And we saw that on, I think it was possibly lap 2, when George Boothby went to take the lead from Tariq Adam. Now, you could have seen it in any other championship or other championships where Tariq would have tried to force the door closed and possibly caused an accident there. But for the most of it here, a lot of these drivers kind of know where their own personal limit is.
And you know what? I think it takes great courage to know your limitations, but it's such a beautiful thing to witness, because more often than not, we tend to see a lot in sim racing where drivers, because it's not the real thing, it's a game, they lose respect for one another. They force moves that shouldn't be there. The defending is over the line. So to see moves like that, like you're saying, that move on Tariq Adam for the lead was so clean, so measured, getting into the braking zone, but giving each other enough space to go around that turn. That's what we want to see from our drivers. That's what racing is all about. Respecting your fellow competitor in the same way that you'd want to be respected as a driver.
Yeah, and that would probably be, as someone that's been in the sim racing arena for a number of years now, would be my advice to anyone looking to get started, and maybe you've kind of jumped into a Assetto Corsa or a Assetto Corsa Competizione or whatever, and into a public lobby and thought, what on earth is this? Don't judge it by that. Go and get yourself involved with the community. That was a huge moment there. I'm positive we just about saw a car going absolutely sideways at the top of the chase there. We didn't get a yellow flag, so thankfully it wasn't there. But yeah, get yourself involved with the community like Genisus Esports. get yourself involved with league racing, a little, community championships, those sorts of things, where you will just find so much fun, so much enjoyment, and so much mutual respect from a lot of the drivers. A lot of them have got a vested interest in wanting to make sure that not only they survive, but that you survive as well. So again, definitely something to check out. And if you do want to check out Genisus Esports, head over to GenisusExtreme.com, where you can find out more details about their academy team, their esports team, and the championship that they did this year, the Genisus Sim to Rail program, that of course our very own Tariq Adam went and won in that second place there. So he got a funded drive behind the wheel of a real life racing championship, and again, that's not something to be sniffed at.
Oh, definitely not. And I think this is the moment for me to say I'm extremely jealous. I think I've had enough time watching race cars on a TV screen. I should be behind the cockpit, but it's such a beautiful thing. And we spoke about this as we were building up to the race. Unfortunately, people couldn't hear us by then. And it's all about community. It's all about getting together with like-minded people, showing each other respect, sharing that experience with someone who's new. And I'm enjoying it tonight as well. I'm new to this game, and you've welcomed me with warm hands. And that's what it's all about. It's about creating that community and having fun as friends all around the world.
Yep. Warm hands until we're on track, and then it's firmly into the wall. But on that note, then, as a motorsport fan, then what's your dream combination? If you could get behind the wheel of any car at any circuit, what would it be for yourself? Not necessarily in the sim, in real life or whatever.
I think for a lot of us, the dream is always an F1 car around. I think Silverstone is one of the best to experience what a real F1 car is about. But since we're commentating on GT cars, I would say since the introduction of the new Ferrari 296 GT3, I've been impressed with that car. Track, I think it has to be the Nürburgring, isn't it? The most challenging track in the world, in my opinion. So many turns, 20-kilometer lap. It's about driver skill. It's about patience. It's about courage. Oh, that would be the day for me. That would be the day for me.
Do you know, Tapillo, you saying that, we are now new BFFs. That anybody that has the Nürburgring as their must-have track, absolutely, yeah, totally. I've done more laps virtually of the Nordschleife than I think any other track, and that is most definitely on the bucket list for me. And I think that's the other thing about sim racing as well, is that it gives you a chance to indulge in those dreams, indulge in those fantasies that, let's face it, for 99% of us won't come true. We won't likely get our opportunity to be behind the wheel of a real life actual F1 car and have the confidence to drive it in anger, because that's the other thing as well. There's a lot of abilities to drive cars, but again, it's having that confidence to actually drive them very, very fast. That's the wonder that sim racing actually gives us. For me, yeah, probably I'd have to agree. Nordschleife on the Nürburgring 24-hour layout, and possibly for me, I think I'd like to either give the BMW M4 a go, or the Mercedes, the Mercedes AMG. That is one of my favourite cars. The Ferrari is absolutely stunning and certainly a joy to drive. I think any GT3 car would definitely float my boat around there, and it's certainly something that I've done time and time again. And of course, obviously over there in South Africa, there's a massively strong club championship real life racing scene that the Sim to Rail Championship takes advantage of. I remember going over there last year and seeing Killarney racetrack and the I'm trying to remember, it was the Volkswagens. Was it the? It wasn't the. It was. I think it was the Polo Cup. And it was
yes,
just,
it is the Polo Cup. Very successful local racing scene, and
brilliant.
Look, I think a lot of the hype around South Africa right now is because of the rugby. We're doing so well there, but any South African will tell you, South Africans love their motoring. South Africans breathe breathe engine fumes. I think sometimes we need to check South Africans. It's not blood that runs through our veins. It might be unleaded petrol, but it's such a brilliant thing. It's such a brilliant thing, and I think you're right in saying that. Series like the Sim to Real. That's why there's such a hold for them in a market like South Africa, because people are passionate. People want this, and that's why you go on social media. There's always calls for international, promoters to bring these racing series to South Africa.
And just to elaborate on that as well, we'll not wax too lyrical on it, but again, just on the South African motorsport scene, the one bit that really caught my attention is as somebody that's worked in I used to work up in here in Scotland at our national circuit, Knockhill. And, as part of the events team, you'd see the crowds that would come to these events. And, there would be a tiny little pocket that would come for the club events here in Scotland. But in South Africa, it's the fact that you can actually make it a social event. You can go there with your friends, you can bring a braai and really enjoy it. We'll come back to that in just a second, because you can see picture in picture here as Luke Whitehead tries to go around the outside of Tariq Adam. Can't quite make it work there, but there was a mistake there from Tariq Adam that allowed that opportunity, and Whitehead has to dust himself off again and keep going. Meanwhile, George Boothby hasn't cleared himself off to the state that I thought he was going to be. Still only 3.4 seconds as we go under the hour. Abe Santina, though, has dropped off from this battle. They're 7 seconds behind. And again, for me, it's a case of what has got to give for Luke Whitehead to be able to get that second position.
You know what I've started to notice right now from Tariq Adam? He's so good coming out of the corners. He gets his positioning correct. That is why every time Luke Whitehead gets close under the brakes, he starts to lose out a bit on the exit, because Tariq has been so good at getting the power down, getting his line correct, and not overworking the tires and getting the grip just spot on to accelerate just out of that corner. And
he's doing it so well, as you noticed here. But again, perilously close to that wall on the left-hand side, through McPhillamon Park, through Skyline, then down through the S's and then into the Dipper, as we look at Giovanni Porzio here for Genisus Esports. Onto the back there of Sandro Van Zandt in the 35 McLaren. And again, this is now the stage where all of the cars have kind of spread out a bit. We've done half an hour, if you can already believe that. We've done our first third of the race. It did look like a big clip of the wall there from Sandro Van Zandt. And again, that
very lucky not to spin there. Very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky. That kind of contact can end the race. So it's also about the angle at which you touch the wall. Ooh, huge sideways moment, and there we go. Curse of the commentator, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
No,
sorry.
I'm not having that. That wasn't cut. That was not curse of the commentator. That was prediction right there. That was amazing. It was like, yeah, it's gonna be tears, and then immediately just exit stage left. But how often do we see that, where a car will clip the curb or cause a little bit of damage and then try to go for it, and then overdrive the car, and then immediately that's it, it's done and dusted, and straight off into the nearest wall there?
Oh yes, most definitely. It's the overcorrection, because the moment you touch a wall, it's like your body goes into a bit of a panic. Oh, what did I do? How bad was the damage? All these thoughts go through your head, and you start to neglect the basics. Get the car correct. Get your platform solid. And what happens is, like we've said before about this track, it's very tricky at the top of the mountain. As you touch Skyline, as you go through the SS, if you touch a wall and if you don't get your platform solid again, you're losing that car, and we've already seen that happen tonight.
And with very, very expensive consequences. We're watching Cody Sherrick here with Christian Venter in the 24 McLaren just behind in that teammate car. In fact, no, we're not seeing Christian Venter, because Christian Venter is already in the pit lane. So have we lost Christian then from the race? Because I think he was in the pits too early for the pit window to be open. I'm not sure on that one. Maybe he got in just as it was opening up, but that was actually...
If he got his timing correct, he might be better than I am. He might have better timing than I do.
Well, he's done it, but he's coming in. Has he done a pit stop? He has, but it's not counted. Because look, the orange marker to the right-hand side still remains at 1. So we'll see as he goes across the line. Normally that changes immediately as soon as he's done. So he has come in too early. I don't think that pit stop is counted. That is going to be absolutely huge.
Terrible timing. And it's exactly what we spoke about at the start of this race. When do you get your pit stop correct? It becomes such a crucial part of the race. And we saw that he tried to steal that bit of a moment, but he got his timing off. Wasted 25 seconds he needs to do again.
Oh, that is absolutely heartbreaking to see that. I thought he was being clever, thought he was being coy, but it's all come back to bite him as we've got 53.5 minutes left to go in this third round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. A 20-minute pit stop window is open, mandatory pit stop for all of the cars to do. Our top of our lead runner rather to come into the pits is Luke Whitehead. We're watching Christian deploy fighting off Cody Sherritt just now, and that is no mean feat whatsoever because Cody is a very, very fast driver as they come up through turn 2 here. And again, with these being teammates, the one thing that I thought here watching them for the first time last week here was that they'll just be taking it easy and they'll maybe try and get past each other fairly, but I mean, this is their teammates in name only here. This is a proper battle here.
Oh, of course, and that's how competitive these guys are. You know, we tend to forget how competitive a gamer is until we see them on track with each other. Yes, we're teammates. Yes, we run the same livery, but unfortunately, I still need to beat you on the day. And I want to ask you, David, what would you do in these pit stops? The pit window's open. Do you change your tires as well? Do you risk it? Go on the same set, try and save that 5 seconds from the next guy behind you?
I think that I'm definitely going to take some tires, but again, it's all marginal because I tend to overwork the car. I'll come back to that thought in a second because we did just see Keegan Sanderson there. We did have a yellow flag, and that was actually for Keegan at the exit of the Dipper there. So came into contact at the exit of Skyline, and he did have a bit of a moment through that one. We are going to have another replay though. This is what happened with Sandro Van Zandt, and again, this is from earlier. So we saw this live in front of us. Clipping the curb on the left-hand side, touches the wall on the right there, and it is Goodnight Vienna left, right, and centre. And again, he did try and hold on to it, but as you said there, it's that overcorrection that's going to catch out every single time.
Every single time. We see it time and time again. And unfortunately, this is the kind of circuit that punishes that because it is narrow, it's got walls on both sides. If you do not get your correction correct, you're kissing a wall and you're probably going to ruin your race.
Back on board with Cody Sherritt then here for Genisus Esports behind his teammate Christian Duploy in that number 7 Ferrari. So it's a Ferrari sandwich right now. Luke Harrison, Christian Duploy, Cody Sherritt and Giorgio Pozzo in 7th position as well. So they're all fighting it out just now. And Giovanni Pozzo will be doing his best to try and catch up, but he is several seconds off of this fight just now. When I say several, I mean 18. And it's a bit difficult to figure out how you get that with half an hour gone. I'll tell you what right now, Cody Sherritt is a lucky boy after putting 2 wheels onto the grass there.
I think you and I will both remember this overtake by Kevin Nest in 2018, where you put 2 tires at the Nürburgring just on the grass.
Yup.
Maybe that's the motivation for that.
He's channeling his inner Superstar GT3 driver there. Although I am more cautious to think that was maybe just him getting it wrong and going a little bit wide. But again, look at the run that he's got down here into the chase. This is going to be a move from Cody Sherritt late onto the brakes. He slips on the inside. But again, from the teammates there, no love lost between the two of them. Round the outside.
Beautiful move. Beautiful move. Respect shown to each driver, giving each other enough space to make the move, and so brave to break just 2 meters. That's all it is. Just break 2 meters later than your opponent, and you're through.
the other thing I was going to say here in 14th position, Luke Whitehead. Now, what I'm wondering with the fact that he is down there in 14th position and he took a very early pit stop, I wonder if he's going to get the undercut on Tariq Adam here, because Tariq 4.2 seconds behind George Boothby just now, but you remember how much that Whitehead wanted to try and get past that second place car, and he'd got a little bit of free air in front of him. So I wonder if he's able to crack in a few decent laps here, he might actually be able to get himself up into that P2.
Yes, well spotted, David. Well spotted. I think those are some of the things that these drivers are doing very well. They're not thinking about where they are, but they're thinking about the race as a whole, and that's usually the solution. If you're struggling to get past the guy in front, take the pit stop. You have fresher tires. You're just more relaxed. You can get a better rhythm. You've got clean air in front of you. Then the undercut becomes extremely powerful in that kind of situation.
So, Tapello, you're almost halfway through your first bout of live esports sim racing commentary. How's it going so far for yourself?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You never know how much you're going to enjoy something until you do it, and sitting here watching these guys do what they do best, they're driving, we're having these conversations. Hopefully the guys that are listening to this are enjoying it just as much as I am. It's amazing. I don't want to say it's a dream, because it's a dream I never even thought of having. But now that I'm here, now that I'm doing it, oh, what an experience! What an experience!
It's a whole new world, and it's so awesome to have you on board for your first esports commentary. And honestly, you're absolutely knocking it out of the park. So excited to have you on board for the rest of the season. Right, let's have a look at Luke Whitehead then, behind that number 4 BMW of Musa here just now as they come through the cutting. This is going to be sketchy stuff as Musa keeps to the inside. Whitehead is going to try and outbrake him there. Oh, almost a little bit of contact there, but Whitehead gets away with it.
Fresher tires.
Again,
Fresher tires.
Yeah,
that's the advantage of the pit stop. Fresher tires, more confidence on the brakes, and you can see the traction just pulling out of that corner. He's already given himself about 2-3 tenths.
And again, that is going to come in leaps and bounds when it comes to the other two drivers in their pit stops here as well. I'm going to have a quick look and compare his lap time actually just now, because at the moment, Luke Whitehead, his last lap was a 2:05, but again, in that traffic, it'll be more fair to work out what he can do next lap by here. And figure that out, as we're seeing George Boothby just in the distance there with Tariq Adam. That is our main focus of point of focus just now. 4.1 seconds, that gap has evened out just now, but again, pit stop's going to have to come in the next 11 minutes. This is a race leader, George Boothby, who we haven't really seen all that much of just now. It usually tends to be the case from race leaders in these endurance races that unless they do something wrong, we don't really see much of them. But as if our broadcast producer is psychic, George Boothby into the pits, and again, he's not really too worried, I don't think, as Tariq Adam comes into the pits as well. Tariq Adam, I think, has got a lot to be concerned about with Luke Whitehead.
Most definitely. And if you're Luke Whitehead in this kind of position, you don't care. You just need to be consistent. You just need to be consistent, get the lap times. There's something I love saying about racing, and I said it and my friends gave me grief about it. I said, especially if you look at what Boothby was doing in the front, sometimes you need to be boring as a driver. You don't need to have an extravagant moment. You don't need to have the best overtakes. You just need to be boring but scoring. And that's what some drivers need today.
I'm just saying that Christian Venter back into pit lane, actually putting out there that his pit stop bugged out, decided to change tyres after they already did that. So Tariq Adams still into pit lane just now. This is a long stop. This is a very long stop. I think he's done it. I think Whitehead has got that position done as they come into Hell Corner. We'll wait and see. It is nip and tuck though as the two of them come out. It's going to be side by side, and surely Luke Whitehead is going to have the run over Tariq Adam, but Adam out in front, and if anything, Adam actually extending that gap quite significantly.
I think he got lucky. I think we started calling that undercut, didn't we? But Yeah, it's all about what he can do in the first half of this lap. You know, his tires won't be optimal like Whitehead's tires, so it's a bit of a nervy situation. How do you defend? How hard do you defend? Because you do not want to kill your tires at the beginning of your stint. You still have 45 minutes in this race to go. So, do you maybe perhaps let him pass and try to catch back later in the race, or do you just push, and show him who's boss?
If it's me just now, if in the position of Tariq Adam, I'd be just absolutely going for it right now. In fact, I was just wondering
Sideways
why the two of them aren't actually in the proper positions. Then realised that Abe Santima hasn't actually pitted there. I was my brain was absolutely melting trying to figure that one out. But Abe Santima does come into pit lane. So listen, Tariq Adam though, with a 1.1 second gap over Luke Whitehead, I think Whitehead is going to have been caught off guard on that. I think Whitehead maybe thought he's got a much better chance of actually doing something with that. And if anything, I think Tariq Adam now has maybe got a resurgent sense of life now, halfway through the race. And, you know, he's done everything that he needs to do. He's just got to keep holding on.
And I think what becomes important now for Tariq Adam is he's been able to hold this position for so long. He's been able to hold this position despite the pit stops. And what that does for the psyche of a driver is your confidence grows. Now you know what you need to do. You know where you're faster. You know that the strength of your car over your competitors. It's all about confidence from this point. So for the next 40 minutes, it's all now down to how well Tariq Adam can just keep his cool, maintain his confidence, and maintain his pace.
For sure. As we are, as I said, past the halfway point of the third round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. George Boothby ahead of Tariq Adam and Luke Whitehead. That's your podium so far. Luke Addison in P4. You've got Cody Sherritt is now ahead of Christian Dupuis. And one thing I'm going to keep an eye on for Christian Dupuis in that number 7 Ferrari, about 2 laps ago when we were watching the two of them fighting, absolutely positive that his right rear tyre clobbered the wall at Forest Elbow there, and I'm wondering if there's potentially a little bit of damage on that number 7 Ferrari, certainly dropping back a little bit. Giovanni Porto in 8th position. You've then got Bursma in 9th, and then Jimmy Holm, the homing missile himself, down there in P10. But again, it's all about the points for the championship for this season, and again, you know, so many points on offer, a drop round as well, but 35 points on offer for the winner, all the way down to 15th position. So, you know, realistically, everything to play for, and a lot of reason to keep pushing towards that top 15.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for the people that are watching this race to remember that not all damage is catastrophic. So you can sometimes choose to continue with your damage, but unfortunately you'll start to feel the effect. So if you kiss the wall at a bad angle, you'll start to struggle in the slow corners, you'll start to struggle with handling your car. So you might not want to pit, but you're going to be slower because of that damage. So we might see that from a few drivers, because we've seen contact with the walls around the circuit already tonight. So we might see a few drivers, especially in the latter part of this race, being very slow because that damage is catching up to them.
On board then with Luke Whitehead as we're going back up the mountain for another lap here, lap 24 out of what I can only presume to be around about 46 laps, 47 laps perhaps here this evening. And again, Luke Whitehead now closer than he has been all through the race, now onto the back end of Tariq Adam, applying pressure, but yet again Tariq Adam being masterful at holding off that applied pressure from Luke Whitehead. 25 past 12 here in game sim time, and you get a sight of the stunning New South Wales scenery just in the background. The track is just a beautiful track in real life, and I think this game has done wonders at capturing the magnificence of this track here, this iconic track here at Bathurst Mount Panorama. Down through the gears, then through Skyline, down into the S's, then into the Dipper, and then it's going to be into Forest Elbow here as well. But 40 minutes left to go. At which point do you think Luke Whitehead is going to say enough is enough and just need to get past?
I don't know. It's very tricky to call, because you want to do it with as little as time as possible so that you can easily defend your lead. Because there's this often unsaid thing in racing that if you overtake too early, then you're putting yourself under pressure for a longer period of time. But if you can overtake at the right moment with as little of the race as possible, it becomes easier to defend, because then everyone sort of goes into this conservative mindset that I'm not going to risk my race with 5-10 minutes to go. But I think that point is coming. That point is coming where Whitehead is going to call it and be like, you know what, I've sat here long enough, I've given him his room, I've seen where he's stronger, but I'm going to lunge at this corner.
Well, let's see how this all pans out. Again, coming down that long straight here. It's all going to be about timing as Serodio gets a stop-go 30-second penalty, so 15th place car of Andre Serodio in that Lamborghini. 30-second stop-go penalty, and I can only presume that is an automatically given penalty by the game, potentially for not doing his pit stop in time or something like that. But either way, automatic penalty being given by the game, so it can't have been a pit stop issue. I'm not sure if it would have been track limits, because they normally gives a drive-through penalty, but yeah, that's very unusual. But either way, I mean, getting a stop-go penalty at this stage of the race, that is, you might as well kiss your race goodbye.
There's nothing much you can do after that. It's one of those races that kills all sort of momentum you have. It just saps the energy from you as a driver, because it's so difficult to come back from something like that. It puts you out of sync with everyone who's on circuit. You're just struggling, and the problem with that is once you come back after a lengthy penalty like that, you start to overdrive the car, trying to overcompensate for that penalty, and then you run the risk of kissing the wall and getting yourself damaged, and then your race is done and dusted after that.
Well, it looks like the THAPS fan club still firmly in effect here. Prince Adwani is saying go THAPS. So again, a huge turnout for yourself here tonight. Never mind all of the drivers that are out there.
I think I might be the happiest guy. I'm doing something I love. I'm having a good evening, and I'm getting a lot of support. And again, to the guys that are watching, to the guys that are showing some love, thank you so much. It means the world to me to be sharing this sport with you guys and to have you guys enjoying the stream tonight. Show some love to David as well, because I think he's been absolutely class for the past hour and a bit. So yes, let's show some love and let's have fun for this last 36 minutes.
I again wholeheartedly agree. 1 minute 20 left to go in the pit window here as Alexander Kuznetsov into the pits for Send Help Motorsports. That's definitely a team that I am going to have to try and join. I think that is about my level of sim racing ability. Meanwhile, we've got a cracking little fight going on here for 12th and 13th position. Wojtek Dvorak there trying to catch on to the back there of Henry Meyer. You've also got a 19th place car, that's to Blanche in the 42 BMW that's involved in there. And I think that's all of the last cars into pit lane just now for their pit stop, and then we are left with a 35-minute dash to the end of the race here. But again, just that top 10 looking so very firm right now. Gap between first and second place now 5.5 seconds, but the gap to second place is still 0.6 of a second. I think that Tariq Adam is doing a splendid job of not only holding on, but of actually keeping that position. It's not like he's having he's only got it because he's blocking a few corners and he's having to defend. I think he's got that second place on pace alone.
I think that's what we highlighted in the beginning, because we spoke about how good the McLaren is around this circuit, and we spoke about maybe just how much of a deficit the Ferrari might have. But I did say, and I'll go back to it, sometimes someone will have the driver mod settings set to max, and I think we're seeing that with Tariq Adams tonight.
Well, we'll certainly see it. And again, Luke Whitehead did look like he wanted to try and punch that air, but just as soon as that Lamborghini tucks its nose out in front, it just does not have the ability to make that happen here. So again, it's all going to be on the pressure that can be applied coming up through 3 and 4 here, as Luke Whitehead firmly onto the back of that McLaren. And again, getting towed round there. A little bit of a wiggle on the oversteer there from the McLaren in front. Tariq Adam under huge amounts of pressure here from the Lamborghini. But again, as they come through Solomon Park and then through McPhillamy Park as well, under the bridge at Skyline, it could not be any closer at all between this battle for second and third position. And as we get down to the final half an hour here, you have to start wondering how far are these two willing to push it, because of course you want to get a position, but at some point you're going to think to yourself, well, second or third, that's still a decent haul of points, and if it was a choice of crashing out or taking the position, I'd rather just take the position, thank you.
For sure. There comes that point where you have to compromise and say, you know what, I tried my best, but I think it wasn't my day today. But I think one thing I want to highlight here, David, is for the viewers at home, what these guys are doing is so impressive. Being that close behind another driver on a race circuit that's so technical and not making those mistakes, it is an impressive drive. If it was David and I, we'd have penalties, we'd have crashes, we'd have damage. These guys are showing a supreme level of talent. And let's see if the lunge will work here. Just about. Again, I think the traction that Tariq Adam has in that Ferrari just to pull away at corner exits is proving to be the difference tonight.
That's absolutely it. He's able to just drive that car out of the corners, and you know, it's all about the run down to the chase and into Murray's corner for Luke Whitehead, but he just cannot do anything with any other corner, and it's been exactly the same from the remainder of this race just now. So again, that's what they're doing just now. We can see into pit lane potentially for an unscheduled pit stop. There is the number 10 Porsche of Fleming Bauer. I wonder if he is going to be retiring from this race. We've got Christian Venter has retired. He is done and dusted. We've got a number of retirements actually. We've got Sandro van der Sande, we've got Tim Beyer, Nicholas Manuel, Jakob Grobler, Vincent Nell, Charles Darden, Thomas Jack, and Paul Venter all out on the all out of the race as well. So we knew that it was going to be a tough track here, but again, Bathurst here proving that it is absolutely a race of attrition.
Oh, for sure. And it's something we spoke about. You know, I think you guys last week had an hour race. Now today we're having an hour and a half. That plays into it. You know, this is not an easy circuit. You need to be perfect. You need to be focused on the small things, and then add on to that the extreme pressures of being competitive for an hour and a half. 90 minutes is a hell of a long time to try and defend the lead, to try and maintain your speed and not have dips. We've seen it a lot. We see it in sim racing a lot, and we see it a lot in real racing as well, where drivers will go through troughs, peaks and troughs in pace during the race. You know, they might be quick for the first 20-30 minutes, but then after that their lap time starts to fall off, they start making mistakes, and then maybe they have a pit stop and they pick up again. So to look at people like the top 5 who've been so consistent, they've actually been maintaining their gaps for a while now. It's actually very impressive to do that an hour into the race.
It's almost metronomic, the pace that the top drivers able to put in, lap out. And in fact, Tariq Adam here looks like he's actually stretching away on that gap up the mountain straight here as they come through 2, 3 and 4 in the next couple of seconds here. And even then, Luke Whitehead didn't look like he was close enough at the cutting, at the chase rather, to actually do anything about that position right now. I think all he can do is just apply the pressure, keep it on there, and take advantage of anything that does come his way. But with just 30 minutes left to go in the race, let's take you through your top 10 again then. It is still George Boothby in the lead of the race ahead of Tariq Adams in second position, Luke Whitehead in third, Abe Santima now in fourth position, Luke Addison down to fifth position as Cody Sherritt up to sixth, Christian Deploy in seventh position, Giovanni Portio in eighth. You've then got Bursma in ninth position there. That is, of course, Ronaldo Bursma. and then you have got Jimmy Holm in 10th position in the Ferrari as well. Again, the order of the day here seems to be these little gaps of like 2 to 3 seconds. Occasionally you've got longer, but we do have another battle as well. Wojciech Dvorak and Henry Meyer, 12th and 13th position. And again, it just goes to show what I was saying earlier here, is the fact that, you know, regardless if you're fighting for a win or if you're fighting for a podium, all the positions are going to be fought for very, very viciously indeed.
Oh, of course, spot on, David. And I think it's worth remembering that as much as a race is important, a race is just the cog in the greater scheme of a championship. You know, I think we have an accident on track.
Yeah, Keegan Sanderson at the I think that's on the exit of turn 2. That is just after the mountain straight there, I think. Anyway, yeah, that's still on the uphill section, so that is just coming up to the cutting just now. He kept the car parked there, so that was really good racing awareness there from Keegan to just keep that car absolutely still. But my issue is, we've seen it before, are we going to see that car having a further accident because of damage that's been given to it?
And it's such a disastrous place to have a crash, because like we said earlier in the race, if you have a crash in sector 1, like we're saying, this was just at turn 2, you have to travel the whole length of the circuit just to get to the pits. You're already slower because you've got damage, you're overly cautious because you've just crashed, and now you have to do a whole lap in those kind of situations. That's a race killer right there.
Certainly is. But we're now come down to the final thirds of the race here, the dying embers of this race. It looks like a lot of the results are fairly secure just now. But let's actually find out what happened with Keegan there and try and figure out what happened to Mr. Sanderson as he's coming through turn 2. It's a little bit of a power slide, bang, straight head first into the wall.
Yeah, it happens. I think we tend to see it a lot. If you touch the curbs with the loaded tire and it just upsets your balance, that happens, and you're not going to catch that car. That car will have a mind of its own once it's decided that it's going to spin. You're just a passenger at that moment.
Certainly are, and at which point there's really nothing you can do other than, if you're holding one of those very expensive wheels, is let go of it, otherwise you're going to likely hurt yourself. Keegan Sanderson though for PWSR Charlie into pit lane, and he will be getting rid of some of that damage or possibly retiring from the race. We'll keep an eye on that car in pit lane and find out which it is doing. Luke Addison for Genisus Esports on his own right now. Cody Sherritt was the one that had Christian Deploy just behind him, but that gap is now 3.5 seconds between those two. So again, a lot of gaps opening up here, and for myself as a driver, that's not something that I particularly want here, because I prefer to, you know, if I'm going to be in a pack, I'll happily drive behind another driver and use them as my reference point. But when you're on your own, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Most definitely. It becomes extremely difficult to judge your own pace when you're sitting alone, because you have no references. You don't know whether you're getting forward, you're going backwards. And unfortunately, in that kind of situation, what tends to happen is we start to see drivers' pace fall off immensely just because they don't have that reference. So I agree with you. I'd rather be a second or two just behind someone so that I can still have a visual reference of who I'm following and who I need to be nearby.
Here is the big multi-million-dollar question then. What does Luke Whitehead have in the tank to get past Tariq Adam? And I'm going to say right now, I don't think he's got anything. He is close, but it's the drive out of Forest Elbow that Tariq Adam has in that McLaren that absolutely leaves that Lamborghini for dead every single lap just now. Possibly traction control getting turned down, or possibly the tyres just not able to give the traction that's needed to give that Lamborghini the boost it was having 5, 10, 15 laps ago here. But as we are watching, this has been a thrilling race here. Tariq Adam has thoroughly earned his position in P2 right now, and only has 25 minutes left to drive around the circuit, not just to hold on, but to absolutely cane that McLaren for whatever it is worth. And again, I do wonder if this is the time now here that a lot of the drivers, Tapelo, are going to be thinking, right, okay, I've got this position, I'm maybe 3 seconds behind the guy in front, 4 seconds in front of the guy behind me. I can just focus on keeping this position. This is the position that I'm going to finish in.
Yeah, I think you have to call it. I think you have to call it for your good going forward. Like we said, this is just one race in a 12-race championship. It becomes important to scrape in whatever points you can. And if you're in a comfortable position, you don't want to risk it. You start to take those situations. That consideration comes to you. I think I should just hold pace and keep where I am. But unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're enjoying this race so far, sometimes competition tends to come about, and a competitive spirit will say, look, one more lunge, that might still happen. But what I've been so impressed is, obviously you can never tell what setup he's running, but if you look at Whitehead, he's so good in the brakes with that Lamborghini, he's so good, and that's where he makes up time. But like we said, the traction out of the corners of the McLaren with Tariq Adam at the wheel is what's making the difference in that battle so far.
Certainly is, as we've cut down to the battle for 9th and 10th position, as we've got Ronaldo Biersma just ahead of Jimmy Holm, the homing missile in that number 1 Ferrari just now, trying to catch up to 9th place and take that position, and that gap is come down at a rate of knots. The two drivers climbing up through the hill, and again, not going to be too many more opportunities for Jimmy to make a position. Certainly, if he gets 9th position, that's it. That's going to be his day kind of done and dusted, given that Giovanni Porzio 26 seconds up the road. There is no chance that you are undoing that. But again, that's not taking any issues like accidents or yellow flags into account. That's just on race pace alone. But either way, Jimmy Holm won't care about that just now. He's only focused on Ronaldo Biersma up there in that Lamborghini. And again, Ronaldo looking like he has the drive out of that corner there to be able to keep that car just in front. In fact, it's 1 second now.
Yeah, look, I think we're starting to see that thing I was talking about, where some drivers will start to have peaks and troughs in their race pace. They've been driving for over an hour now. You're getting tired. Maybe your hands are cramping. Your feet are getting sweaty. Your mind starts to drift now. And I think this is where sometimes you start to see the distinction between a really good driver and a great driver, is who can still maintain that pressure, that speed, that composure, and who starts to make mistakes. And maybe this is where it becomes so crucial, if you're ahead of someone, that you start to look for people's mistakes. Where can I capitalize? Who's missing a braking zone? Who's running wide? Who's kissing the wall? This is a very, very crucial point in the race.
It absolutely is, and we are here for every single moment of it, of the third round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Remember, it is a 12-round affair. We are on round 3. The next round up is next Wednesday, where we are off to Hungaroring. That is going to be an epic and very important round as well. Remember, it's all about the points into this championship, because it looks like Luke Whitehead not going to take another win just now, and that will even things out significantly. And on that note, with drivers having a drop round here, Luke will be hoping that this is his worst result of the season. But either way, I mean, he's not going to be too unhappy, I don't think, with a third place. It's still a hell of a result, a very difficult track, and with some really, really good, strong competition in front of him here.
Most definitely, and it's sometimes that has to happen. If you're not having your best race, but you can still maximize on points and you finish on the podium, that's a good haul of points going forward. And it brings into question now, where do you take your drop round? Do you look at a circuit where it's just going to be too difficult for you? Maybe it's a circuit you struggle with, or sometimes you're just not feeling it. And I think it's all about that. If you can maximize in a race like this and you take a good haul of points, then perhaps the next round is where you can take that drop round. So it's a bit of a play in the driver's mind. It's a bit of a play, but now we're seeing that gaps are closing. That there comes that peak in pace again, in race pace, and this pressure is going to increase now.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is that with so many retirements so far, I think we're nearly around about 20 cars still remaining in the race here. It's simply a case of just by staying in the race here, there's a good chance you might actually get a couple of points. So even if you're having, a horrible day here, there's still an incentive to actually stay out there on track and actually still circulate, because you might actually pick up 1 or 2 points that you thought you never had a hope in hell of actually getting. So that is definitely one of the reasons I think that a lot of the cars are going to want to stay out there. As I cannot believe we are into now our final 20 minutes of the race here. George Boothby still in the lead by 7 seconds. And the one thing that I haven't noticed too much is the fact that Boothby hasn't really had too much of an issue with lap traffic just now, but I think he is going to find some very shortly in the form of the number 34, who's going to come across very, very shortly indeed. That is, of course, Omar Khan.
Yeah, I think that's important sometimes, and maybe that's what you want. You don't want any traffic, because how often do we see, especially in sim racing, where a driver loses their position because they're trying to lap someone, right? And I saw there was just some contact, big hit there. Again, drivers are getting tired. They've been here for more than an hour. Mistakes are bound to happen. And it's that thing you were talking about, staying in the race, that level of attrition, points are on offer.
It's at times like this, Tabello, that I honestly wish that I had a little keyboard with sound effects on it just now, because that right there was an absolute Roblox oof moment there. That was so heavy into the wall there. I'd be very surprised if there is not significant front right damage to that car just now. That's going to be horrible to try and drive as well. But you're absolutely spot on again there with the tiredness, the whole lack of concentration starts to seep in, and these little moments that could have been just one little thing start to creep in. The other thing I'm going to bring to your attention here, now this could just be the lap traffic coming into play here, but George Boothby, that gap, remember, was about 8 seconds, then it was 7.2, now it's 6.8, so that is at least 2-3 laps in a row where that gap has started to come down very, very slightly. Very curious, it's still at 6.8.
Yeah, I think that's something we should keep a keen eye on. Like you're saying, it might just be because of traffic, because you tend to be overly cautious now when you're going to lap people. But you could also be tired. And Tariq Adam, as we've seen, he's been driving brilliantly, and maybe he feels that maybe to give himself some breathing room, he just needs to increase his pace just ever so slightly.
Yeah, he certainly could. We're watching Luke Whitehead here, though, onto the back of Tariq Adam, where he has kind of pretty much been for the last 50 minutes of this race, doing an epic job. And our broadcast producer Daniel was actually commenting about this in our producer channel, the insane ability that Luke has to just glue himself onto the back end of that car of Tariq Adam. And you were commenting on it earlier as well. The skill is, that looked like a heavy hit onto the rear right wheel there of Luke Whitehead. Now that might have just been a little visual artifact there, but it did look like that car significantly hit the wall, and that's not going to do his chasing down opportunity any good at all.
That was no longer a kiss, that was a headbutt into the wall, unfortunately. Huge contact there, and that might do quite a number on his confidence as well. Let's see how it bounces back. Hopefully he doesn't have damage, because their battle has been giving us extreme entertainment tonight.
Do you know what's annoying is the fact that if I did that in the sim, that'd be like at least 10 minutes of repairs, but Luke's able to just laugh it off, and the car still looks to be just as fast as it ever was, as we see some lap traffic coming into the mix as well. And amazing traffic awareness there from that back, the lap traffic there, because they just got off the racing line and just said, nope, I don't want any part in this at all. Great awareness there, as we've got just 15 minutes. This time is absolutely flying by in this third round of the championship here at Bathurst, and you can see the beautiful nighttime sky, the clear blue sky. You can see the stars up there as well. And it's always one of the highlights of the GT calendar for me is watching the endurance race at Bathurst, because they always start at dawn and race off into into the morning, see the sunrise and then the sun sets. It's just an epic track, but these drivers have certainly shown that they've got more than the ability and more than capable of doing what's needed here at Bathurst.
Most definitely, it's such a beautiful track to experience racing in. You know, I caught the V8 Supercars race earlier this month. It's such an amazing. It's always competitive because every driver that goes up the mountain always tells you it's about passion, it's about determination. You never give up because you're always fighting the mountain. But I just want to bring it out, and I want to commend the drivers for this, is that these drivers have been so clean with each other. You know, they've shown respect, and we've spoken about it. But I kind of feel sorry for our friends, the stewards, because it feels like they've been asleep now for about 40 minutes. Maybe someone should knock on their door and check if they're still alive.
I think they are. I just nipped next door to the steward's office and stole the packet of biscuits that they've got in their. They're really just enjoying a cup of tea and a bit of a chin wag at the moment, because there is nothing to report on just now. It is all fairly prim and proper, and I think, again, as we said about 10 minutes ago, this is now it. This is now the point where you think, right, okay, we're done here. Now, I'm watching Fleming Bauer here dropping down a position to Musa. Has that car got damage on it, I wonder? In fact, that's a huge power slide there from Fleming Bauer. I wonder if he's cooked his tyres, because that car is all over the place.
Yeah, you start to see it. You start to see it. It's no longer looking as solid as it used to, and yeah, I think you're right. And it's that thing we spoke about just after the pit stops. You know, you kind of need to nurse your tires in the beginning of the stint. You know, be kind to them, show them a bit of love. Don't accelerate too harshly. You know, don't brake too harshly. Try and be as smooth as possible, because the last 10 minutes of a stint is where you start to see the effect of killing your tires in the beginning. Because when they fall off, they will not fall off gradually. They'll just fall off a cliff, and you're going to struggle.
Oh, well, it's amazing that you just say that, because by the biggest of coincidences, look at the gap to Luke Whitehead and Tariq Adam. That's now 2 seconds. They were nose to tail for the majority of the past 50 minutes, and that gap has now edged out to 2 seconds. And I wonder if Luke Whitehead is cooked. I wonder if his tyres are absolutely done, because it was just starting to go up. We'll certainly know in this next sector just now to see if that time goes up even more, as that is Schutt getting out of the way in the number 20 Ferrari. That is Sean Schutt getting out of the way, I should say. But that is a big revelation for me in this final 10 minutes of the race, to see Luke Whitehead losing so much time.
Most definitely, and you have to ask. It's either one of two things, hey? It's either one of two things. It's either they've finally broken his spirit, you know, that fight to try and be, or like you're saying, he's cooked his tires, and then that becomes disastrous. I think maybe the one thing he's happy about, he's got an 11 and a half second to Santima at the back. So even if he starts to lose pace, he can maybe just try and maintain his position.
Just saying as well, they're coming up to some lap traffic as well. They're coming up to Alexander Kuznetsov, who is just in front of Tariq Adam just now. I think that'll be costing a little bit of time for Tariq, but again, with 10 minutes left to go, this is Jimmy Holm down in 11th place. Now, he was up in 10th. He's lost out that position to Vassner in that recovering Mercedes AMG in the number 36. And again, we saw Vassner up there into the top 10, and possibly feeling that that's the case of reclaiming that top 10 position. Remember, points given out to the top 15. So all the way down to Bauer in that number 10 Porsche will be getting 1 point. And again, that could make a huge difference come the end of the season. But at round 3, I think it's just a little bit of a nice to have at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I think it becomes important. Like we're saying, sometimes you just need to score. You have to be boring, but you need to score. Boring but scoring, sometimes that's the motto of a championship. That's how you win.
Yeah, Fleming Bauer isn't going to be scoring points. I can almost guarantee that one. That car is we've got a word up here in Scotland, absolutely buckled, and I think that is the only way to describe that car right now. It's been heavily into the wall, down through the S's there, and again looking very, very unstable, very unhappy as Bauer down into P16, 4 seconds in behind Serodio, and that is going to be any chance at getting points done and dusted. And it's going to honestly be a bit of a challenge getting that car home with the amount of damage that they have got on that car. And again, final 10 minutes of the race, that is not what you want to have happen, just because, you know, you've put your a lot of work into this, and you just want to get over the line now. This is now just about finishing.
Well, most definitely, and it becomes such a heartbreaking thing because, like you're saying, you've put so much time and effort into this race so far. You know, it's like watching a series and then losing an internet connection on the last episode. It is utterly heartbreaking because it seems like it's futile. It seems like all your effort goes down to waste, you know, crashing in the final 10 minutes. And that's why I said for a lot of drivers, the final 10 minutes become a tricky part of the race because they go into a conservative mindset to say, listen, I've been racing for 80 minutes. I've got 8 minutes to go. Let's slow down. Slow car currently on track. Maybe someone kissed the wall again. Yeah, he is running alone, so we can't say he has someone running with him.
Oh, another little clip.
Oh, and he touches it again.
He's not looking very happy. He's not looking very comfortable in that car. The light flicker in that car is weaving from left to right. The suspension is gubbed on that car. It is done. It is toasted. If he stays in the top 15, I think that'll be an absolute miracle. But I think he is going to have one monster accident in the next lap or two. You just know from experience with these sorts of things, as that is Musa just behind trying to catch up. It could actually be that Henry Meyer decides to take that car into pit lane. He doesn't. He keeps it going, but again, you can see the front light flickering. That is always a telltale sign that there's been some monumental damage onto that car. Let's have a look at what happened then to Henry Meyer, coming through the left and right, just out of Skyline, down through the dipper, then bang, clips the curb on the left-hand side, and well, yeah, that is going to be a bone-jarring experience for sure in that car.
I'll tell you what, David, since you're going to come and join us in South Africa, I'll give you the Zulu term for what happened there. We say we fage bonded. He put it in the wall. That's what happened there.
Yeah, there's quite a few terms that I've learned. Probably none of them suitable for saying on air just now, but yeah, I might type it in chat and just double check with our broadcast team who are also from South Africa as well, as we go back with George Boothby. I swear to God, every time I look at that clock, it's like 5 minutes later. How is this happening? The time just evaporating at a rate of knots. Really, really enjoying this race here tonight, and in no small part is that through the very welcome addition of yourself, the Pello. It's been brilliant to have you on board here. What have you made of your first race of the season with us here at Genisus Esports?
You know what, I was a bit afraid. I don't want to lie, I was a bit afraid because I came in and all of a sudden, as we're prepping for the race, they're like, hey, listen, we have a 90-minute race. I was like, oh, that's bad. I thought my energy levels would be sapped after the first hour, but you know what? You've guided me through it. You know, you've gotten me prepared. You know, you gave me the tips. You showed me the ropes, and to give some praise to the drivers as well. They've given us quite the spectacle, and in races like this, your energy levels never drop because there's always something to commentate on. There's always something to pay attention to. So I've loved it. I'm happy to be here. And guess what, guys? I'll be here for many more weeks to come.
Absolutely. We're going to have you for the entirety of the season, so very much looking forward to it. Get it in your diary every single Wednesday, the place to be. However, the place not to be is the pit lane, and that is exactly where Henry Meyer is right now, with 5 minutes left to go. So that car is indeed done and dusted. That means now that Serodio does get that last point paying position. In fact, no, that is still going to hand things back to Bauer in the 16th place car. That will move up to 15, so Fleming Bauer will potentially still get a point right now. But Luke Whitehead, that car is done. I think he's just decided that enough is enough here up in P3 because that gap is now 4 seconds, or as near as damn it 4 seconds between second and third. And with 5 minutes left to go, you've got to say that I think the drivers now are quite rightly just looking ahead and deciding to settle down. As I say that, Ronaldo Bersma has got the world's biggest crosshair on his back right now. Sasha Wasner for Unicorns of Love has got that car firmly in their sights, and this looks like it could be quite easy pickings for the Mercedes because the pace differential right now is absolutely absurd. I wonder if the Lamborghinis have just eaten through their tyres.
Yeah, I think that might be it. And what about the confidence from Bersma, from Wasner to be the only driver driving a Mercedes? You know, we tend to see it in sim racing that some cars tend to be better around some tracks, so you'll see people kind of move towards one car. But you're right, the pace differential is such that it should be an easy pass. How about that? How about that? Going for an overtake with 3 minutes left in a race, that's brave. That's amazing, but that's what motorsport is all about.
It also gives us something to commentate on for the final 3 minutes of the race, which is absolutely fantastic. Just to echo what you were saying earlier, you know, the drivers, when you get a good race like this, it is such a privilege to be part of this because it's so easy to commentate on what is going on as George Boothby is about to start his penultimate lap of the race. He comes across the line. And he'll get one more in after this just now. But Boothby has been flawless at the front. It's all been about him as nobody has really come close. Tariq Adam started, you've got to remember, this race on pole position and then dropped down into third place, but managed to get that back from Luke Whitehead. And the two of them have been fighting ever since. But that race is done as Luke Whitehead now dropping back even further as we go up through the mountain. Now, for me as a driver in sim racing, I've got to tell you, this is one of the most dangerous times when you're out in front because you've only got 2.5 minutes left to go. You've only got 2 laps left. But of course, these 2 laps you still have to navigate. And as a commentator as well here, quite a lot can happen on that last lap.
Yeah, listen, motorsport is all about the margins, hey? 2 minutes is a lifetime. Something like this. 2 minutes is a lifetime, and all it takes is one mistake in one corner, touch the curb in a bad angle or kiss the wall, and the race ends. So you have to be so cautious. You have to focus even more. You know, like we were saying, these drivers are fatigued. They've been driving for more than 80 minutes, almost 90 minutes now. You need to pull up that last bit of concentration, that last bit of energy, just to get you to the line, because you do not want to lose it now.
Absolutely do not. I think that is the key thing. As Fleming Bauer, no! The final, I jinxed it. I said he was on chance for having the final points of the... Oh, dear Lord, no. Not like this. This scares me, actually, because, well, he's back to the pits. That's it done. So, no points then for Bauer. That means that Khan is going to be the last car then that gets points in. Omar Khan. That's a stunning turn of events there. But across the line then is George Boothby to start the final lap of the race here for round 3 of Genisus Esports the Kaizen Championship. And I mean, there's not much else you can say other than, you know, well done to George Boothby. He's absolutely deserved this.
That's your victory lap, George A. That's your victory lap. Brilliant drive, you know. We spoke about driving within your limits, you know, don't do anything extravagant, don't force things, you know, maintain your pace, maintain your lines. We've hardly seen him set a foot wrong tonight, and like I said, we even didn't commentate on him that much because he's just pulled away from the rest of the field and he did what he had to do. Again, boring but scoring, that's the name of the game.
It certainly is. So through the final lap then comes our race leader, George Boothby, through the uphill section of the circuit, through McPhillamy Park for the final time, over the crest at Skyline, down through the S's, then into the Dipper, and again navigating it as well and as best as he possibly can. The time expires here at Bathurst. 90 minutes is up. All that stands between us and a race winner is just a couple of corners and a very long Conrod straight. Here comes George Boothby then as he opens the taps on that number 27 McLaren. The lights ablaze, illuminating the nighttime sky here at New South Wales for Bathurst at Mount Panorama. Rounds one of the fastest corners in motorsport, down onto the brakes then, into the chase. And what a performance it's been. It's going to be a delighted, I think, George Boothby, when we get a chance to speak to him. We are going to be tight for time tonight, so we only might manage to get a chat with our top two or so, but it's going to be across the line. It's a win for George Boothby on round 3, the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championships. It's an 8-second gap from Tariq Adam for Genisus Esports across the line, who finishes ahead of Luke Whitehead. That is your podium 1, 2, 3. Abe Santema takes a very well-deserved 4th place. Luke Addison is going to come across the line in 5th as we're watching all of this chaos going on for P10. Just now, this is P11, excuse me. So this is for actual position right now, just 0.4 of a second between Wojtek Dvorak and Jimmy Holm just now. It's going to be Abe Santema in 4th position, Luke Addison in 5th just now. Cody Sherritt is going to come across the line in 6th, but let's keep our eye on this battle here just now, as we've got 11th and 12th right out of Forest Elbow then, as Wojtek Dvorak then try to navigate that lap traffic there. A little bit of a slipstream sip there from Jimmy Holm comes through the chase, through the right-hander here. I think it's going to be the last of the late breaker. Surely it's too late to do anything now. Thinks about it very, very late onto the brakes there. But here comes another battle then. It's Bursma against Sasha Warner. Warner up the inside, tries to get the position, but Lambo tries to hold it in. It's going to be 9th place for Sasha Vassner. Bursma has to settle down for 10th position. What a finish to this race. Wojtek Dvorak going to finish in 11th, and Jimmy Holm in 12th position there.
Brilliant driving. Like we said, it's not over until it's over. You need to keep your head in there, and that's what happens. You get an overtake in the last corner of the last lap, and you win it all. That's driving right there.
Absolutely awesome stuff. So a huge congratulations then to everyone that finished in the points there, especially to Omar Khan, who sneaked in that 1 point by finishing 15th, and again proving that it's all about survival. It's all about getting themselves into the end there. Again, we're just waiting for a couple of drivers to head in and come and have a chat with us. And as soon as we do, we'll be able to get them in and have a little chat with them. I can see Tariq Adam down there, as well as George Boothby in the waiting room. So let's see if we can try and drag George Boothby in to have a chat with us. And George, welcome in. Did you even see anybody in that race today?
At the start I did. I had to get past Tariq, but it was a fair fight. He made just a little bit of a mistake in the last sector, because I just put a bit of pressure on him and tried to do a few dummy sends, and yeah, it meant that he had a bad exit. I was able to send one up the inside into turn 1, and I hope it was a fair move. I think it was. And yeah, then after that, him and Luke started fighting, so that let me just crack on and get away, which it's a blessing and a curse at this track, because not having the pressure means you don't have to push as much. So like the second stint, I wasn't really absolutely full sending it, but at the same time here, if you just get out of the rhythm, it's so easy to make a silly mistake, or just clip a wall or do something stupid. So it's sometimes it's a good thing to have that pressure and always be absolutely on it. But I was able to just do my thing. I did have a few ropey moments here or there, but yeah, I'm really happy to finish that race. I think anyone who finishes Bathurst is always, it's a sigh of relief and they're happy. So to finish P1 as well, yeah, I'm chuffed. I'm well happy.
And obviously some good championship points ahead of Luke as well. And, moving into the next section of the championship is obviously going to be vital. Looking forward to next round, though, obviously we're off to Hungaroring. What's that like as a track for yourself?
For the car, it's really good. This car is like one of the quickest there, along with, I think, the Ferrari and the Lambo. So on paper, I should have a good race, but that is probably my least favorite track in the whole game. So I've got to do a bit of digging, a bit of grinding, and hopefully I get up to speed and I'm able to challenge Luke, right? Because he's doing really well in the championship so far. He seems like he's probably going to be the big contender. So I want to try and get a win on him. But I know that Luke loves Hungaroring. I think it is although it's one of my worst tracks, one of my least favorites, I think it's the absolute opposite for him. I think he loves that track. So he's going to be fast there. So yeah, if I can get a win against him there, I'll be really, really happy.
Well, congratulations once again, George. Anybody that you want to say thanks to tonight?
Obviously the team and all of my Twitch chat and all the viewers for keeping me entertained and throughout the race. It was a good laugh. So, and you guys for putting on such a good championship. So thanks, guys.
Awesome stuff. Well, congratulations there, George Boothby there having a quick chat with us. Let's race through them then and get everybody in. Tariq Adam, congratulations, young man. Second place. That's, you had to work for it for the majority of it, and then that final 10 minutes must have been like music to your ears.
Yeah, thanks. It was probably one of the most intense races I've ever had. I was just struggling with the car in the race with the braking, and then I made that mistake on lap 1 and George got past. It was a good move by him there, but yeah, I was just struggling with the brakes, especially the downhill hairpin onto the back straight, so I kept getting a bad exit, and then I was vulnerable the whole way, and yeah, just had to defend from Luke the whole time. But yeah, mega pace by him as well. He did really well.
And Luke was really, really testing you at various points there. Was there ever a moment where you thought, this might be it?
Yeah, there was a couple of times. I had a few sketchy moments down the mountain. Locked up once done the hairpin, and then he had a run on me in the straight, but the McLaren's decently fast in the straight, so I was able to hold the inside and defend that into the last sector. So yeah, there's a few moments.
Well, a brilliant second place and a hard-fought second place nonetheless, Tariq. Anybody that you want to say thank you tonight?
Yeah, just my team, the Genisus group, to Gareth, for giving us all this opportunity and putting on a nice show and championship for us. Yeah, it's been amazing, so thanks to him and the team.
Well, a huge thank you from us for giving us an amazing, amazing fight tonight, Tariq, and hopefully see you next week at Hungaroring.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, guys.
So there we go, second place Tariq Adam. Let's bring in then Luke Whitehead to have a chat with us then in third position. We'll get a very quick chat in with him. Luke, we don't have a lot of time, but congratulations on third place. Very well deserved. But, it could have been so different. You were fighting so hard there with Tariq.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. The car just wasn't quick enough. It's that simple, really. Couldn't have got anything more, and we had a bit more pace than Tariq, but just couldn't overtake him. That's all there is to it, really. Tried something different. The strap didn't work, but lesson learned.
What happened in the final 10 minutes? Was that just the tyres falling away from you?
I actually got cramp in my leg midway through one of the sectors, and I spent about 2 laps trying to get rid of it. And then I was just like, I'm just going to bring it home. But that's why I lost like a second on 1 lap, because I basically had to, it was my brake foot as well. Like, it would be fine if it was my throttle foot, because then I could just obviously use the throttle to stretch my leg. But I basically had to have my leg like above the rig, basically trying to get it sorted for a lap or so. So it was a bit sketchy. I'm all good now, but my leg's fine. But it was a little bit of a scary moment for sure. But Tariq and George drove really well. GG's to them. But yeah, we'll be back stronger for the next one for sure.
Still some strong championship points for yourself. Congratulations on third place, though. Again, anybody that you want to thank for tonight?
First off, I want to congratulate once again Tariq and George. Both drove really, really well and made the most of the strength of the car and didn't put a foot wrong. Thanks also to Veloce again for their continued support. Thanks to everyone watching the official stream as well. And also thanks to Genisus and SLGP, for holding this championship. I love the guys at SLGP, and obviously Genisus guys are new, but it's great to see them getting involved, getting a championship sorted, and giving us a place to race. It's always fun. So thanks, guys.
Awesome stuff. Congratulations again to Luke Whitehead, then third place there. And that is us for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching us. A huge thank you to all the team behind the scenes at Sim Sports Solutions for giving us this beautiful, beautiful broadcast. A huge thank you to yourselves at home for watching as well. This is what we've got coming up. Do not go anywhere for the next couple of Wednesdays until the end of the year. We've got Bathurst that was tonight, Hungaroring next week, Donington, Spa, Nürburgring, Barcelona, all the way to Watkins Glen. A huge thank you to Genesis Risk for being our amazing, amazing partners for this Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. And most importantly tonight, normally it'd be the audience, but I've got to say a huge thank you to my good new friend and buddy in the commentary box, Tapelo Marioli. Thank you for joining me tonight. How was that?
Oh, loved it. Loved every minute of it. Loved the racing. Loved the chats. Glad to be back to do it again next week and the week after that. Thank you so much, David. You've been the perfect host. You've been the perfect friend. Let's keep going.
Let's keep it going indeed. We roll over to Hungaroring in a week's time. Join us then, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe, hit like on the video, and we will see you next week. Until then, peace.